and welcome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our session two. So, our next panel will talk about agile leadership, what it means to you at the management or operational level. Allow me to introduce our panelists, starting with our moderator. Our moderator is Rizchelle Sampang Manaog. She's the program director, CFA Society of the Philippines, and the member of the board of trustees of the PCAAE. Rizchelle is known for her significant contribution to PCAAE, specifically in being awarded funding for its big projects. She has sourced sponsors and partners and negotiated with suppliers that resulted in significant savings for the association. She presented in conferences and meetings about association and event management. Received travel grants from the Rotary International to California, USA, Professional Convention Management Association to Singapore, IT and CMA to Thailand and China. Earned her certificate in Professional Association Executive in 2016. Awarded the CFA Institute Investment Foundation Certificate 2013. Completed diploma in Professional Event Management in 2012. And finished her undergraduate studies at the University of the Philippines, Diliman in 2005. Our first panelist is Ms. Beatriz S. Almero. She's the Executive Director and member of the Board of Trustees of iHome Greater Metro Manila, Director, Philippine Christian University External Office, Chairman, English and Mass Communication Department. Beatriz Almero is a dedicated educator and has specialized in English and mass communication. She was involved with the International Catholic Migration Commission at the Philippine refugee camp in Morong, Bataan, trained refugees in English from Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and other Asian countries in preparation for their immigration to the U.S., and volunteered to counsel refugees with other international organizations. She's a national sales manager for a multinational company, helping unemployed mothers and families earn a living by training them to be entrepreneurs. She handles the Community Extension Services program of the whole university for 5 years in addition to promotions and alumni affairs, and represents the university for external linkages. She's also the former president of the Franville 4 Homeowners Association. Our second panelist is Ms. Ana Pasetes. She's the executive director of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, or SharePHIL. She's known for her advocacy to empower retail investors and minority shareholders through investor education and supporting policy improvements in the Philippine capital markets. Prior to joining the nonprofit sector, Ana worked as an analyst for a technology company, delivering digital transformation strategies for some of the leading Philippine enterprises and led business development efforts for emerging technology startups. She's a graduate of business administration from the University of the Philippines in Diliman. Our third and final panelist is Mary Elizabeth Ria Lu. She's the executive director of the Game Developers Association of the Philippines, studio director of the First Foundry Manila studio. She's known for her involvement in the development of the Philippine game industry, especially in the talent development front, and is well versed in the business and operations of BPO, software, and games. She's a former operations manager and bridge director of Transcosmos Asia Philippines, a Japanese BPO company involved in e-commerce, support services, and software development. And she's also the founder of Komikasi Games and Entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel two for today. Please welcome them all.
Good after-
We will now be turning over to our moderator, Ms. Rizchelle Manaog.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Association Summit 8. And today, as mentioned, our topic is what does agile leadership mean at the management or operational level? And as was mentioned, we have here Bea, Ana, and Ria for this panel discussion. So let's start. According to the Center for the Agile Leadership, an agile leader is inclusive, democratic leader who exhibit a greater openness to ideas and innovations, with a passion for learning, a focus on developing people, and a strong ability to define and communicate a desired vision. They possess all of the tools necessary to successfully inspire others and become an agent of change within the organization. So having that in mind, for all of our panelists today, Bea, Ana, and Ria, what does agile leadership mean personally to you? Let's start with Bea. You are muted. Please unmute. Bea, you're still muted. Let's turn to Ria first. Ria, can you answer the question? What does agile leadership mean personally to you while we are waiting for Bea?
All right. So, well, when we talk of agile, kasi, like for in our industry, which is tech, we use the term agile a lot, but mostly for it's like it's a software process basically, wherein instead of yung there's already something set that you follow for for a long period. It's like you set little things and then you meet frequently and then adjust accordingly. So that's how we use agile in development. So when we talk of agile leadership, what I get from it is it's similar. It's instead of like, I mean, it is important. Definitely, we also have our roadmaps, but agile leadership means that you can sort of adapt. You can adapt with the different changes in what's happening. For example, in our case, in games and software, sometimes, iba, when you're developing something, along the way, there are external factors, external things that happen, or there are things that happen caused by external factors that you really didn't like prepare for, or sometimes hindi mo talaga ina-expect. Like for example, this COVID, nobody, I mean, siguro, like even 2 years ago, even last year, nobody actually like thought that this would happen, right? So, and that's why agile is important in those cases. It's a type of leadership wherein you're not too rigid, that you can actually adapt quickly. And so that's what agile leadership is to me. It's really being able to adapt quickly to something that's happening to your organization.
Thank you, Ria. Shall we go ahead now shall we now have Bea? You are now, I think you're not muted anymore, so you may go ahead and speak, Bea. We cannot hear the sound. So Bea, while you're fixing your audio, let's go to Anna. Anna, what does agile leadership mean personally to you?
All right. So similar to what Ria said, coming from kind of that background also, um, it's really being adaptive and flexible and using tools according to what you need, um, according to what's the upcoming need.
Thank you, Anna. Bea, is your audio working now? Can you speak? Can we try? We still cannot hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, let's we can go back to Bea in a while, and now let's go to our second question. In the article of Rick Lepsinger in Business to Community, it talks about 3 critical capabilities of agile leaders that allow them to excel and provide significant value to their teams and also to their organizations. Now, these are connect, adapt, and deliver. Connect is understanding how to establish meaningful communications in the workplace, while adapt is the ability to recognize changing dynamics and adjust rapidly to overcome challenges, reimagine strategic direction, and propel transformation innovation. And I think that's what is Ria and Anna was talking about a while ago, being really adaptive. Ria said setting little things, meeting frequently, and adjust accordingly. And Anna said being adaptive, flexible, and using tools according to what is needed. Now, the third is deliver. This is the ability to provide results for the organization. Now, my next question is, how do you apply these in your organization? The connect, adapt, and deliver. And maybe you can give us an example of an initiative or a project in which one of these critical capabilities were tested. Yes, Anna?
Okay, so in our case, we explored a lot of cloud-based software where it's all collaborative, because we're all now on remote work, and then our stakeholders are also, we can't expect them to meet with you in person. So we looked into a lot of nonprofit benefits online. So even before the pandemic, we availed of Google for nonprofits and Canva for nonprofits. So we get those services for free, and then we're transitioning our team more to use those cloud-based services so that we can collaborate on work in progress documents. And then because we're a small team, we also have our finance outsourced. So we started looking into NetSuite's pro bono program, where they donate their ERP solution to nonprofits. And since we qualified, we're slowly migrating our system to NetSuite. And then now we can provide visibility to our stakeholders on the financials in almost real time. And then everything is deposited in one place. All the files are there in time for audit. We're all looking at the same records, so we're trying to avoid the how when you send like Excel files back and forth, something gets lost in the versions. But now, since we're all looking at the same system, it would be easier for us to keep track of things. So it's really a lot of adapting into the available tools that we have.
Let's have Ria.
All right. Okay. In our case, I think I can give you an example for Connect naman. I think the advantage of our industry kasi is that we're a small organization. The Game Developers Association is pretty small compared to a lot of the other associations. And so, one, kumbaga, I wouldn't say it's a disadvantage, but one peculiarity about our industry is that since most of our members are composed of smaller teams, the structure is not always the same. So, like for example, an average company within GDAP is about 20 to 30 people. So usually it's small. So they usually really change or adapt their company based on what works for them. So there's no like standard. So so when the pandemic happened, we really didn't like. It's not going to be one particular thing that's going to be a problem for all the companies under GDAP. So it was really going to be different per company. So what we did at the start of the pandemic was we reached out to our members individually, and we could do it because it's a smaller association, so we could actually reach out to our members individually and ask them what they need. And I think that was a good opportunity. Kasi, once you get things running, you're running an association, sometimes you don't think about the little things and about really connecting with each member. You really just think of what's good for the entire group. So it was a good chance for us to really connect with them, on a more intimate level. Which I think, that's really what happens when you're agile, when you can adapt, when you can move based on what's going on outside. So yeah, that's what what we did during the pandemic, in the beginning of the pandemic.
Thank you, Ria. That's the ability really to adapt in certain situations, like in a crisis where we are all in, is really helpful for our organization. And so Anna specifically was talking about tools that help them adapt and Ria was talking about how to connect with the members, and how to adapt to what is needed by their members. So let's have Bea. Bea, let's go back to the first question on what does
Yeah.
agile leadership mean personally to you?
Okay, agile leadership to me means openness. You are prepared for any innovations and you are prepared for anything that would happen in an eventuality, that you can adjust, you can adapt, and you can actually move your team even if there are hindrances to it. You have to prepare for any, like in our situation. It was devastating, but thank God we were able to do it and to deliver results despite this pandemic.
Thank you for that, Bea. Now, on to the second question, Bea, that Anna and we have already answered.
Yeah.
The second question is, how do you apply, connect, adapt, and deliver in your organization?
Okay. Uh, Connect. Like for example, our very example is what is happening right now, and of course, actually, we were prepared for our project already because we will be having our second project for our visual for our vibes for but after the meeting, then the lockdown was imposed. So what we did was to have a paradigm shift, because in as much as we are in construction, we could not do the construction even if our site was prepared already. But in as much as we are also with community development and we have more than 20 communities to handle, then we had to have a paradigm shift. What I mean by paradigm shift is, while we did not disregard our preparation for our second build for our visually impaired and the blind, we had to change because we had to have a paradigm shift because our different communities, they belong to the marginalized communities, our home partners, and with the lockdown, then they were complaining about the the food. They were complaining about their needs, so we have to take care of it. So connect. So we connected with our BOTs because we needed their help. We formed, in fact, an emergency operations committee to handle the crisis or to handle critical decisions that we make because of the paradigm shift. But fortunately, we were able to do it. Our BOTs are very cooperative. Like, for example, the one that we help so much were the, and in fact, until now, we're helping the visually impaired and the blind because they were very much affected. They had no, they had no work actually because they were in the different malls. They do the major. Then we help them so much. And for our other community home partners, they would ask for assistance, especially food, ask for assistance, especially for the need to connect with the LGUs in relation to the, like for example, the social work group. They have to, because they do not receive and then it's a week, they have, so we have really to help them in a way. And we connected, actually we have two social workers who handle our communities, so they connected right away to the homeowners association, the presidents of the homeowners association, and monitor what happened in the different communities. And by God's grace, we were able to deliver, actually. And we are very thankful because despite the pandemic, we're able to use the tools in communication, like we use the messenger, we use cell phones, and from time to time, we met through Zoom. And actually, uh, meet with the operations, the emergency operations committee to handle different situations and to report to our president what we actually were able to do during the lockdown.
That's great. You've done a lot actually, Bea.
Yeah,
Um,
it was very difficult, but by God's grace, we did it. And the teamwork is very important. Agility and leadership actually evolves in the teamwork, the relationship among the team, because there is no, like for example, there is, to us there is no, we also are a community by itself. There is no superior or staff relation. We are like a family, so it is very easy to connect. And me, I am we have already set from the first meeting of our emergency operations group, we already had set our goals, our directives, and also our time frame. And we mobilize people. We connect. We had to connect because for 20 communities, we had to connect 20 presidents of the homeowners association to monitor, because you know that our home partners belong to the marginalized group, and we really do take care of them. We connect with the LGUs, we connect with uh, what department is that give help, aid to them. We saw to it that they receive their noodles, their sardines, and their rice. And until now, if we recall, then we felt that we really delivered what was needed during the pandemic because of agility in leadership.
Thank you for that, Bea. May we also ask you to hold your cord maybe a little away from your dress so that it will not create noise.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So Bea mentioned
Yes.
about their response to the COVID-19 pandemic, creating an emergency
Yes.
committee to tackle mga questions, or maybe if there are critical decisions that are needed to make. So for GDAP, Ria, did you also need to create a committee to handle the effects of the COVID-19 to your members?
In our case, we didn't. So it was really the ones who were moving for COVID was me, and then my assistant plus our president mismo. And then our board kasi, for GDAP, our board is a working board. So we could just pull them as needed. So no, we didn't create a different group for that. It was really the executive team and the board that was working to help the members.
How about Anna? How about you guys? Did you need to create a specific committee? Please unmute yourself, Anna. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So similar to Ria, well, our team, our internal team is very very small. So it's it's an agile team, so to speak. So we don't really have the room to create subcommittees for that, and it was really on on all of us to adapt to the changing dynamics. And so we switched to Zoom conference calls and Google Meet and coordinating things over our Viber groups. So yeah.
So would you say, Anna, that when the COVID-19 pandemic hit us, you were kind of prepared already in terms of technology, in terms of platform that you use or can use to communicate with your board members and also your members or association members?
Yeah, I would say that we had the tools ready, but when the quarantine started, it was really whiplash because we were only starting to get our feet wet into our new strategy, and we just moved into a new office, so it was really a transition period. And then there's this new transition that happened because we're now working from home. So well, back then, but now we're slowly starting to go back and report to the office just so we can have face-to-face collab within the team. Um, we also took the quarantine as an opportunity to kind of regroup and take a look at our strategy because prior to COVID, we were still thinking a lot about um, hands-on and in-person events, but now it looks like for the foreseeable future, we'd be hosting most, if not all, virtual events, and then kind of rethink how we can engage people on online platforms.
Thank you, Anna. Ria, Anna talked about some tools that they use. She mentioned that they had to regroup, they had to change, some of the planned things that they have plotted out at the start of the year. How about for GDAP? What were the steps that you needed to make to be able to sort of adapt in the new normal? And I see from Anna and I see from your group as well that you did mention that having a small group makes you more agile. Can you give us also a sneak peek on what at least what how can you differentiate in terms of the ability to being agile from a small group to a big group?
Sige. In our case, when the pandemic happened, the transition wasn't too difficult because we already had members who were partially work from home. So there were already game companies within GDAP that had people who were not in Manila. So they were already coordinating online. We also had, it's not uncommon in the game industry to have companies, to have game studios wherein some of your programmers or members of your team that's not even inside the country. So usually for those kinds of teams, it's easy to transition to a fully work from home setup. You basically just make sure your non-work from home people are working from home, but the setup is already there. We're already using online tools for that. So that part was easy. Now, how is it easy for a smaller group to actually adapt versus a bigger group? We've also noticed internally, because we do have bigger groups, bigger companies within GDAP, they were the ones that had a little bit more of a challenge. It wasn't impossible, but they took a little longer to really transition into the work from home setup. The reason for that is usually the bigger companies already have standards and rules in place. For example, and technology in place. So usually the smaller groups, what they would do is they would, because of cost, they would opt for something simpler or something that each person can get for themselves. So, for example, instead of opting for a software that is more expensive but it's kunwari high security, they would opt for something with a little less security that's cheaper. Okay. If you look at it in a business point of view, mas okay yung isa because the security is higher, right? But software like that usually would have problems when it comes to like bringing it outside of the office because the IP is locked to the office. So it's companies like those that have a little bit of a problem transitioning. So that's one example of how like a smaller company actually is easier to transition. As an organization, naman, for GDAP, it was easy for us to sort of help our members because because they're smaller, you can actually go to them one by one, I mean, online, you could just call them up and, hey, what's wrong? Do you need help? What type of help do you need? And then we could do things for them. Like instead, versus, let's say, if our organization was thousands of members, had thousands of members, it would be hard for us to actually do things customized to that particular company. But GDAP only has what, 60 members. So it was easier. It's smaller, you can actually do, the granular things for them. So down to, let's say, somebody asking na, hey, how's that, diba, for a while, if you remember, DTI had a pass that you needed that would allow you to like bring, let's say, equipment from one city to the other, ganon. And it was a little easier for us to accommodate mga requests from our members like that. Na, hey, Ria, can you help us connect with DTI? We need that thing to help us bring our computers to some of our guys in, let's say, Antipolo. So we could do that, diba? If it's like 1,000 people and then one member asks for help with the pass, the other asks for a different type of help, and the other asks for a different type of help. Medyo mahirap, diba? So, and that is why I think, it was easier for us as a small organization to actually accommodate what our members really needed at that time.
Thank you, Ria. I think most of the associations are quite small, in terms of staffing. For one, CFA Society Philippines only has 5 full-time staff and 2 part-time. And I agree, it was easier for us to transition. And in fact, it was a good opportunity for us, because even before the pandemic, we were thinking of digital transformation already, because the digital transformation, well, for a lot of companies and even for associations, it has been something that a lot of associations wanted to do. So we've talked about tools, and Anna mentioned tools. You did mention tools, Ria, and also Bea. But now let's try to focus on that. What are the most useful tools that your association has used in this time of global pandemic, and do you think you can recommend that for other associations as well? Can we have Bea answer that question? Maybe you can give us maybe 2 to 3 tools that you've used during the global pandemic.
Actually, we're using, of course, our cell phones. That's a tool for communication. And we also use Messenger. It's very common because Messenger seems faster, in fact. And aside from that, we connect with Zoom meetings that we had. So those are actually the very basic basic tools that we used in connecting with our members, with our BOTs, and also with our home partners.
Thank you,
Especially,
Bea. Go ahead, please.
especially very important is that in Messenger, it's faster according to our home partners. It's faster to reach out to them through Messenger, but sometimes uh, the problem is, of course, the internet, or the problem is the signal, which because our communities are far flung, like we have Bulacan, we have beyond Metro Manila, so it was difficult actually.
Thank you, Bea.
Thank you.
Let's have Anna. Unmute, please.
Similar to Bea, we used a lot of messaging platforms talaga for communication. So Zoom, and then Viber is used a lot more now. And then add to that, I think I would add Canva, because working with a graphic designer remotely is a lot harder than, looking over their shoulder. So at least with Canva, the design is, you can collaborate on the design. And then we use a lot of Google Suite a lot also.
Thank you. And how about you, Ria?
Well, surprisingly, the tools we use are not necessarily the complex tools. So number one, Messenger. Yeah, Facebook Messenger is one of the tools that we actually ended up using a lot of, because sometimes when information floods your email, your members don't read the emails, di ba? So it's like you
That's
have to
right.
message them.
That's right.
So that helped. And then, of course, Zoom, because we do our meetings now with Zoom. And then third is just like Anna, Google, the Google products, GDocs, Sheets. Kasi I think I think it's because sanay ang mga people, people are sanay to use uh, Word and all those, which are not online. And then all of a sudden, it's like you have versioning issues. So parang, can you just update the Excel on Sheets pala? Sheets in Google Drive. Okay. So ganun na nangyayari. So it's the simpler tools. They're not complicated tools, but and they've been there for the longest time. Pero ngayon lang talaga napupush gamitin.
Thank you, Ria, Bea, and Anna. Now, let's talk about team members. Because you work in an association, though it's small or maybe medium size. Of course, you need to deal with your team members. And during the pandemic, all of us were in that situation where we did not know what is happening and what is going to happen. How do you deal with your team members and knowing that they may also have challenges on their own? And of course, since we are association executive, because as mentioned by Ben, we still need to deliver, right? How do you manage that? Let's have Bea first.
Come again, Rizchelle.
How did you deal with your team members, knowing that they may also have challenges of their own, maybe personal challenges of their own?
Yeah. For us, like any other, like what you said, you're a small group, a small team. For us also, it was easier because we're a small team, and as I told you, we met prior to the lockdown. We were discussing about our goals, our directions, our time frame. So during the when it was lockdown time, I have an assistant actually, where I course through my instructions and what to do with I was monitoring all our team members, in fact, because I was also worried. Some of them are not from Metro Manila, some of them are from the provinces. So actually I monitor them and ask them their situation, whether they have problems, whether uh, how do they feel, especially with the lockdown, especially they're far from their parents because their parents also are living in the provinces. So I was like actually I was like mothering to them, because I know that, my team is, most of them are young, very young. They are the millennials. So I could relate with them. So it's not true that we, the elderly, cannot relate with the millennials. We can definitely relate with them. So there was no problem. They were calling me during the lockdown. I was 24/7. In other words, you can call me anytime if you have concerns, if especially personal concerns, because we know that it was abrupt. I mean, we did not expect things to happen that way. So that is how we connect. That is how I handled my team actually. Thank you.
Thank you. And how about Anna?
So because it's just me and a couple of other ladies uh, for the internal team. It really it just required like some level of empathy, and it's really good because we're a very small team, so and we're all ladies, and so we're very open with each other, and even outside of work, like we periodically check in, not like how things are at home, if they need anything to cope, mentally also, like how people are doing. So it's just regularly checking in on everyone. And luckily, we're not that big of a team, and then there's no animosity with the team members.
Thank you, Anna. Let's have Ria.
In my case, for GDAP, there's only two of us. It's me and an assistant. So it wasn't really a problem. You know, you just message her na, oh, okay ka pa? Are you fine? Do you need anything? No, I'm okay. Oh, sige. We're good. Di ba? Ganun lang naman.
So I'd like to share, no, we, as mentioned, we have 5 full-time and 2 part-time. One of the things that we've done is to do a weekly call on updates on what is happening on the different projects that we're doing. Even with the pandemic, so many projects are happening. But at the same time, it was our way of asking, how are you? What are you doing? Like one of our staff members is getting married. So how's your wedding preparation? Stuff like that. So I agree with Anna that really there's just some level of, being able to empathize with your team members. Now those are your team members, and they report to you. Now how about board members? In the time of pandemic, how did you communicate? How did you connect with your board members? Especially that they also have like numerous challenges, maybe, that they need to face. Can we start with Ria?
Sige. In my case, kasi, the game industry is not a very big industry. So we kind of know everybody. So we're kind of friends with everybody. So the members, the board members are friends of mine also. Parang ganon. So we coordinate with them, or we check with them like friends. Like, oh, James, okay ka pa? How are you guys? You know, parang ganon. So it wasn't really a challenge because they were also my friends on Facebook. So it was easy to, hey, are you guys okay? Does anybody need help? I haven't heard from this company. Are you still alive? Ganon. So it was easy because the game industry is small. And we knew everybody. We're kind of friends with everybody. So
My God, naman, that's so nice. I wish we can all have that. How about
that
Anna?
has its challenges. That has its challenges. Kasi when
Okay.
everybody knows everybody, that's like, di ba, paminsan, nagiging personal na. But,
Konting galaw lang, alam na, no?
oh, it's like, what are you in my personal life? But yeah, it has its own, it has its own peculiarities.
How about you, Anna?
So, well, that was a bit of a challenge for us because our board is very used to in-person meetings, so very high touch. So we had to adapt to that, and we also had to be very transparent with our own personal challenges adapting to the quarantine and the work from home situation. We're a little, I guess we can say we're a little lucky because prior to moving offices, we had a few months where we had to work from home. So the internal team already had that dynamic. But when it comes to the board members, we still had to meet with them in person. So we tried to manage, medyo asynchronous yung communications because it was all emails, and then it comes to a point that we all meet together in Zoom, and that's where we reconnect with them on parang face to face. But also, ayun nga, so we had to lay out what the challenges are for the team in terms of performing our tasks because now we're remote, and then we have to rethink how we're doing things.
How about you, Bea, for your board members naman?
Yeah, our board members, actually like me, are mostly seniors already. So we were all concerned about each other, especially we're all seniors from the president down to me as the executive director, because we are not a salaried, we are all volunteers to the organization. We hold different positions, but we are volunteers. Actually, only 5 of our staff are salaried. We actually help the organization by offering what services we can offer, our commitment to our organization. So what we did was like what they said: hello, kumusta na kayo dyan? How are you? Arlene, where are you now? Are you in San Carlos? Because she flew to San Carlos. Oh, what happened to? Oh, I am in. So we really, and we have a group. We have a group chat actually. We have iHome Inc. for the BOTs, a group chat. So there we can ask about their whereabouts. We can ask about their conditions, how they are feeling about this pandemic. So we are all friends actually. So it's not difficult to deal with my BOTs.
I'd like to add to that also, no? So, um, I guess we have a similar makeup of board of trustees with Miss Bea's organization. Um, because they're all volunteers, we also had to manage how much time and effort we have to demand from them. We have to check whether they have the bandwidth for certain things because they're all very busy with their own running their companies or other organizations. So yeah, you have to adapt that way also.
That's right.
So, from what the three of you said, I think it is safe to say that it was easy because you already have that relationship.
Yeah.
Even before the pandemic, that relationship was already there. Now, when COVID-19 hit us and probably change some of the things that we do, you still had that close relationship that you can really count on. So when you needed to do things like fast, when you needed to adapt, it was easier to communicate with them. So that's really nice. And so what can you recommend for your fellow association executives on how to establish meaningful and impactful connections with their members and also with their board as well? Anna?
I suppose like with any kind of COVID or no COVID, it's a matter of open communication, and it really helps to develop a rapport with members of the board, like on an individual level and as a group also.
Thank you. How about Ria?
I agree with Anna. It's really, you really have to care about your members. Yun na yun eh. Paminsan kasi, di ba, we sort of forget. They become like just a company. Parang ganon. But you really have to care about your members, and remember that there are people behind that, and they are business owners. They have employees, so it's really all about people. So yeah.
And Bea?
And for us, we've been together for a long, long time serving serving iHome GMM. So we really know each other. We're like more than friends. Like we become a family already. And for me, like our younger BOTs, they do not call me ma'am. They call me tita. They call me mama. They call me. So there is that closeness among us. And for senior people, we have to have that respect for each other and show feeling of concern for each other, and like what Anna said, empathize with each other. So we have developed that closeness already. Maybe we've been together for 10 years, so we really have known each other for so long and love each other. And because we are all committed to help iHome GMM because of our mission to help the marginalized people, own sustainable communities, and also very affordable houses.
Thank you. Okay, now let's go to deliver. We've talked about connecting with our teams and also with the board members. We've given recommendation to our fellow association executives. Now, what kind of mindset you think will help you deliver positive results for your organization? That is whether we have challenges, big challenges, just like COVID-19 or not. Bea, can I have you again answer that?
Yeah, mindset. Actually, the mindset should be my mindset, and also the mindset of the team should be openness, transparency. We do not hide anything, but we are open so that when you have openness, then your team will have openness. So it would be very easy to adjust. It would be very easy to adapt. It would be very flexibility is flexibility will be attained if we have that openness. And innovations would not be very difficult to handle because we are open to each other.
Ria, how about you?
Yeah, I think for the mindset as somebody who leads an association, I think we should have a mindset na ano medyo parang how do I put this? May ownership tayo. So it's not that parang I just simply work for this organization. Parang ganun. But more of this is my association, you know, my industry that I would like to help like develop. So my ownership. So I think each member of the group that's leading the association should actually also think that way, so that hindi siya passive. So you actually would know na parang okay, this would actually be good for the industry. Let's do this, or eto hindi yung ganon. So that big picture mindset na may ownership ka for your organization or your industry, I think is a very important thing for somebody who works in an association.
Let's have Anna.
Well, I guess as with anything, no, I always advocate for a growth mindset, and in this case, it's applicable also because it fits the agile framework, and especially with COVID happening, a growth mindset was really important because we kind of had to shelf the way we used to do things and figure out new ways of doing things because the old way doesn't work anymore.
Thank you. So that's openness, ownership, and growth mindset. Now, being in association and in the job of managing an association, how do you envision this profession down the road? Like when you look at the future of maybe 5 years down the road, how do you see association management? Ria?
Well, I think it is really important. Like for us in the Game Developers Association, when we started, it was really, there wasn't, we have an association, we had an association, but we weren't very professional about it. You know? And it wasn't really run that well if you go with it na ganon ang style. So it was really actually helpful to really change how you looked at things and how you ran things and made it more professional, you know. And I think PCAAE helped us with that a lot. But so ganon, I think that's what's important. So 5 years down the line, I think that associations would really be an important part of any industry because it, kumbaga, mas it's neutral, neutral compared to like the other companies wherein, of course, as a company, you really need to like grow your own company. But an association would look at the entire industry so that everybody in the industry can be helped. So that's why I think associations are very important, because they look at the bigger picture. They look at the long-term growth of an industry. And so an association that is run professionally would be even more effective. So I think in 5 years' time, what I see is that there would be more importance placed on associations. Yeah, especially like trade associations, because I think they really are useful and helpful in an industry.
Thank you. So go associations. And go association executives, because these are the people behind associations. So let's have Anna.
In the next 5 years, or maybe even sooner, I think associations would have a bigger presence online, especially on social media, because it also needs sustainability in attracting members and growing their membership base, and having that uh, I guess turnover din siya, and turnover to like a new generation of association members, regardless of what the interest is. And also, usually kasi 'di ba, associations have some form of advocacy.
Yeah.
So you'd want more people knowing about that and appreciating that there's someone out there addressing a certain need.
Sorry, I was muted pala. Let's now go to Bea.
Well, I still believe, like what they believe, that associations are still very important 5 years from now, uh, because what you feel in an association is the commitment of the members of the associations to, and then we learn from one another. We share each other's woes, we share each other's happiness. So I believe that we still need associations to at least be helping one another, and for a transformational leadership, for an adaptive leadership, then we need still the associations to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna, Ria, and Bea. And Ria mentioned that people would see more value to associations, so people would see the importance of it in an industry. And Anna said that will be more. We have more presence online and in social media. And Bea says associations are very important because it's where we learn from each other. Now, looking at that, at that future, that 5 years down the road, do you think agile leadership will still be relevant by that time? Let's have Bea.
Yeah, definitely. It would still be relevant, because if it is or relevant now in this trying times of ours, then it can be more relevant 5 years from now, even if there is no COVID, even if there are no what do you call this, problems that we tackle, because the basic of agile leadership is actually very important within the system, within the team, that we can learn also from each other. We can collaborate. We do not go back to the traditional system wherein if you're a boss, you're a boss. You have to be followed. But with agile leadership, there is collaborativeness, there is sharing, there is respect of one's opinion, and so it would develop a very strong team, actually.
Let's have Anna.
Well, yes, definitely. And even more so, because there's a, yeah, the like what Bea said, it's not, there's really no, we can't be like a boss relationship anymore. Like when you're leading an association, you have to wear multiple hats, get your hands dirty, and your team has to see that you're willing to do the grunt work as well when it's called for. So leaders have to remain flexible and adapt to the situation.
Thank you. How about Ria?
Yes, I think so. And I think kasi parang we got a taste of it in this pandemic, wherein we're forced to do agile leadership. And then you realize, okay, this is effective. So I think it'll continue because of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for our viewers, you may post your questions in the Q&A chat box. And our panelists will be happy to answer your questions. But while, so this is more of me formally saying that you may now post your questions in the Q&A, because this is the Q&A portion already. But since I don't see any questions yet in the Q&A chat box, what are the prospects of your association, your specific association in the coming years? Let's have Anna, please.
Sorry, but prospects in terms of
what you want to do, like what are your initiatives that you plan to roll out in the coming years, like looking at 2021, maybe pandemic would be over by then. So how do you see your association? What will your association be doing by that time?
Okay, so with SharePHIL, because we have a specific advocacy of promoting smarter investing and financial stability for Filipinos, we're really going to go big on digital campaigns for retail investors and touch on not just our members but prospective constituents, yung prospective audiences who aren't aware that that they have certain rights when it comes to their investments, and that there's a safer approach to growing their investment portfolio, for example, and how it can contribute to the Philippine economy on a big picture scale. So yeah, we'll watch out for programs, and hopefully we'll see some of your names signing up for those things as well.
Thank you, Anna. I think that's one of our advocacies also as CFA Society Philippines, investor protection, investor education. And yes, we look forward to partnership with you, with SharePHIL. And Ria, how about you? What are your prospects? What are the prospects of the Game Developers Association?
Yeah. So in our case, number one, we're trying to open up new markets for our members. Because that's also what we realized in the pandemic, is that we really are connected and we're not utilizing that connection. So it's really, number one, opening new markets, especially within Asia. Also collaborations with other industries, kasi games are very medyo isolated kami initially na parang who will partner with games, diba? And then but we're realizing, and we're seeing it also in other places, na there are a lot of game technologies that are being used by non-game industries. And so what we want is really to partner up to collaborate with other industries and see if we can be more relevant to them and see if we can actually do some things with them. Kasi sa totoo lang, I mean, games are not just, pang if you're bored. We use games also to help teach kids or to connect with people. Actually, the interesting thing is we have a lot of mga companies wherein their owners have met in games, di ba? And then so that only proves to you that just because you're playing game doesn't mean wala kang ambition in life, these guys are CEOs and all, but they play games, di ba? So that's what we're looking at for GDAP. It's really to collaborate more to get the industry connecting to other industries outside also.
Pia, I can relate to that, no? Hindi yung porket naglalaro ka lang, wala ka ng future. Kasi I'm a homeschooler eh. I have 3 kids. And yeah, because we have that perception na, ay, games, why are you doing games? So I think we can all learn from you. Maybe we should, you should have a workshop on that. How games would help homeschoolers or even other people. So how about you, Bea? What are the prospects of your association in the coming years?
Oh, we will still be committed to build low cost housing for our uh, what's this, for those people who cannot afford. We will still help them. And actually, we do not only build structures. That is what is beautiful in our organization, because uh, we do not only build structures. It doesn't mean that after we have turned over the structure to you, then we're gone. We have our community development projects to really help uplift the lives of our marginal people. So I understand, or I suppose, and I believe that we will still continue with that commitment, because that is our commitment to God through His marginal people. We're helping them a lot. If, like for instance, if we will be out, who will help those? Especially now that we have started with the visually impaired and the blinds, then we will have our second project. In fact, when the lockdown was a little eased out, we were able to finish already the fencing of our second project for our blinds. So I think, in behalf of our BOTs, which I know by heart, we will still continue to build houses for our marginal people and to help uplift their lives through our community development programs, which we also connect with other organizations. Thank you.
Such a beautiful cause. I'm sure a lot of people will rally behind you, making sure that all of that happen. And I actually wanted to share that my sister was inborn blind, so I know how it would be, thrilling for people like them who would be able to have their own homes, because let's be really frank about it. It's very very hard for them to earn, right? And they have limited capability of doing so. So good job to your association. We
Thank
see,
you.
thank you, Bea. We don't see questions yet from the Q&A chat box. We encourage you guys to ask questions. And oh, we have a request here, a Miss Universe question. Words of wisdom on managing an association. Let's start with Bea. I'm sure you are full of wisdom.
Sorry, thank you. Words of wisdom in managing an association. Personally, I would say, or even if you would ask my team, I manage by heart. When I say I manage by heart, in as much as my team are millennials, actually, very far from our age. In fact, I have a former student who's with us, who actually was, who actually wanted to change her mind because she knows me as a professor. So she said, wow, si Ma'am Betty. But she learned that I was not like that in managing the association, because managing the association and being in the classroom are two far different worlds. You know, in managing an association, you have to feel, you have to imbibe, you have to know the needs, in fact, not only of your members, not only of, but most especially the people who are working with you. You should understand them. You should give them all your support. In fact, in managing this association, I only motivate them. I support them. We lay down all their goals, objectives, and time frame, and all that what they need to do, and that's about it. I do not dictate. I only ask them for their reports, and uh, I only tell them to do what, because we have the 5-year development plan, which is our guide. So they look into that. Then we have a weekly meeting for their reports, because even if it was not pandemic, we I seldom see our team inside an office because they're outside. They are in construction. They are our uh, our social group, they go to the different communities. So it is based on trust. That's why I said by heart, because we just have to trust them. Although there are instances when some things happen, but at least it will not actually affect the whole association itself. It's a matter of being friendly to them, management by heart and mind, of course. And because we are a Christian organization, it's management with God.
Okay, Bea. See, that's really full of wisdom, Bea. Now let's have Ria.
Okay. For association, I think number one, automate as much as you can, especially for small teams. Para hindi it's less work on you. If the calendar can do it for you, then let it do it. And really check up on your members, because sometimes they don't know how to approach you, even if they're part of your organization. They don't quite know how to approach you for something, or they are medyo nahihiya to approach you for something. Like for example, in our case, our members, a lot of our studio members are are not are not primarily business people. They are programmers who became business people because they wanted to set up a game company. And because of that, medyo like kunwari, there are some things about taxes, let's say, that they're not quite sure of, or something about legal na hindi pa sila masyado sure of. And they have questions. But they're embarrassed to ask kasi parang, but I'm supposed to know that as a business person already. That's so basic. But they wouldn't know who to talk to, di ba? So sometimes you kind of have to like reach out to them. Na parang kape naman tayo sandali. Oh, what's going on? How are you guys? Ganon. So and that's only kind of how they open up. So if you kind of wait lang for them to open up to you, baka they might have a need that you don't actually know, and nahihiya sila to ask. So it's good to be to really connect with your members, to just check up on them, kausapin mo sila, kaibiganin, and to really find out what are those things that they really need help on.
Last but not the least, Anna.
So, as a relative newcomer to this industry in association management, I'm still very much learning on the job. So I would say, ganun naman in life, di ba? You just have to keep learning. you have to keep an open mind to like new developments, and also, try to be in touch with what your industry needs, and therefore what your members need, and what kind of things you need to adapt to. So then you have to learn how to um, the to use the tools that would help you adapt also.
Interesting. So from heart, automate. Yung conscious, no? So heart, managed by heart, automate, more on automate, and really connect with your members by being proactive. That's what Ria said. You just don't wait for your members to come to you. Hey, I have this problem. Hey, can you help me with this? It's more of really doing the first step, you know? And Anna said that you really have to keep learning. This is why like a lot of people are attending Association Summit 8
Yeah.
because we all need to learn. And me
Learn
here
from
being
each
a moderator,
other.
yes, and being a moderator here, I'm really learning a lot from the three of you. And yes, and she mentioned that we need to learn to how to use tools that would help us adapt, which we actually discussed a while ago. So just to wrap things up, no, we've talked about what is agile leadership, what are the critical capabilities, the connect, adapt, and deliver. What are the projects or initiatives that your associations have done, and how did you use these capabilities in dealing with your projects and initiatives. And I'm sure that a lot of people have learned from this session from the three of you. You have this group is quite diverse, really. And yes, that's true. And even with that diversity, I could see similarities of the things that you
Yes.
do. And at the bottom of it is that the bottom line is you do what is good for the association. It is really what is in your mind is for the betterment of the association, which means that that is for the betterment of the members of that association and the industry at large. And we've learned a lot from dealing with the COVID pandemic. And how have you adapted? What are the things that you've done to help out those who are in need? You've connected with your team members. You've connected with your board members. And I'm quite impressed, really, Anna, Ria, and Bea. I'd like to thank the three of you for joining us in this session. And with that, let me please call Mr. Bobby Peralta, the president of the Philippine Council for Associations and Association Executive, the association man himself, to give us, maybe a closing remark, Knox, closing remark for this session. No, let's have Bobby. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Although my video is not working, I'm not. I don't know if the tech people are allowing me to show my face. But for interest of time, thank you so much. So you talk about connection, communication. Okay, I have to start my video now. So
Perfect.
connection, communication, service commitment to members, collaboration, use of technology. These are common action that your association, your organization have done. And this really doesn't matter how big or small your organization or your association really is. So that's a very good conversation. I agree with Rizchelle, and thank you, Rizchelle, for moderating this panel. So Anna, Bea, and Ria, thank you so much on behalf of the Board of Trustees of PCAAE and the Secretariat. We thank you for your time, for sharing your wisdom. I was the one who asked for the Miss Universe question, so so anyway, thank you so much. I hope we can collaborate, and that's the reason why PCAAE is there, to really bring together membership organizations to share, help each other, and really build a community. And with that, I still owe you a certificate of appreciation, as well as a sketch, a hand sketch of your photo that you sent, done by one of our daughters of our staff. So thank you so much, and see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you once again to Mr. Bobby Peralta and also to our panelists. Such an enlightening discussion. So thank you very much to the session's moderator, Ms. Rizchelle S. Manaog, and to our panelists, Ms. Bea Almero, Ms. Ana Pasetes, and Ms. Ria Lu.